Hello YouTubers, hello subscribers, thanks for tuning in. Let's talk a little bit about high performers and why they will always fail when they're in the care or in the hands of a narcissist. First, let's talk about what a high performer is, and I'm referring to on the job. A high performer is someone who comes in and immediately starts making an impact. They contribute at a high level, they're innovative, they're creative, they have a lot of energy. They apply themselves heavily and directly towards their work. They give something called discretionary effort, which is basically effort above and beyond what is required to get the job done. Business partners, other individuals in the company immediately take notice of this person's performance and generally have fairly good things to say about this person. They stand out from the crowd mainly because of that extra effort they put towards all of their work. They're very thorough, they have strong work ethic, and they take a lot of pride in their work. So that's what I'm referring to when I talk about high performers. They usually have a paper trail in terms of kudos and congratulations that others have given to them, bonuses, awards. Their work has been rewarded. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a high performer. So let's talk about the narcissist, and in particular the narcissistic boss, but it doesn't always have to be your boss in order for you to fail in this particular role. So that's why I said the narcissist and not fail with the narcissistic boss, but they're interchangeable in this case. So here's what happens. Here's the cycle. High performer applies for a job. It gets picked up by HR. They get brought in for an interview. Immediately, either during the interview or immediately after the interview, the high performer is offered this job. And let's say, for the sake of this example, it's the narcissistic boss. The narcissistic boss offers the high performer the job. High performer is excited. They're super pumped to start a new role. A week or two goes by, they start their new job, and they start immediately excelling, taking off, making great contributions, and really doing great things that are moving the company and pushing the company forward. They might be bringing in more money. Maybe they save the company money. Whatever the case is, they're really showing everyone why they got hired for the job. So the high performer is happy. And for a little while, the high performer will think, I finally found my niche. I finally found the place where I can plant and thrive and succeed, and I don't have to go on this job hunt anymore, and I can finally settle in. Somewhere along the line, I want to say probably around the 2 or 3 month mark, the high performer will start to receive very vague, unfounded feedback that's not based in reality. Usually from the narcissistic boss or a narcissist that has some type of impact on this person's future and career at this job, this company. And it throws the high performer off because if you look at their track record, it doesn't match the feedback that they're receiving. So being the high performer that they are, what they usually then do is internalize that feedback and then ramp their efforts up in an effort to make that negative feedback go away. Now let's keep in mind all throughout this that we're talking about this person is dealing with a narcissist or a narcissistic boss, not a healthy situation. I'll tell you what happens in the healthy situation. They get this vague, so continuing on, they get this vague feedback. It worries them because, again, these are people who take pride in their work. So then they start to go above and beyond even the discretionary effort they were already giving, which ultimately leads to burnout. And now their performance is sincerely starting to fail, to which the narcissist latches onto and gives them even more feedback that weighs them down and drags them down. So it sounds a little bit something like, oh, we've noticed that you're not your normal happy self. You used to be so positive. You seem so frustrated lately. You seem so disconnected lately. What's going on? What's going on is this person is spinning their wheels trying to figure out how to satisfy this feedback they've been given. And the reason they burn out is because there is no satisfaction to the feedback, because it's usually not true, or it's exaggerated, or it's some type of gaslighting form of feedback. One of their favorites is people are saying. And if you're a good boss, a good leader, generally you will not deliver feedback that's that vague. If you really want to make changes and see someone make changes, you have to be specific. Because if someone says to you, people are saying, what is your first question going to be? Who are these people, right? And the high performer wants to know that too. So they get these little vague nuggets of feedback, or they'll do excellent on a project. And the narcissist will latch on to something that's kind of irrelevant, but they'll use that as a basis of bad performance. So then the high performer ramps up their efforts to satisfy something that's not even real. They burn out, and now their performance is actually starting to suffer. So now the narcissist latches onto that like food, and they're eating it up, and they're giving this person all this feedback. And so high performers don't quit easily. So a high performer is going to say, well, give me advice, give me examples, give me steps, tell me what to do to get better. The narcissist will never have an answer for you. Never. They will never have an answer for you because they can't. Because what they're telling you doesn't really exist. It's not really real. So you can't correct a problem that doesn't actually exist. And that's what makes you crazy. And that's what makes you burn out. So then the person is in the process of burning out. And if they stick around too long, generally what will happen is they start to get performance counseling, or they start to get write-ups, or they start to have the serious conversations about their future. So now this person is moved from burnout to depression because they don't know what they've done wrong, and all they can reflect on is how well they started and where they are at their current state. This person is dealing with a narcissist, a narcissistic company, or a narcissistic boss. And the sad part is they will actually never win against any of those three that I just named. They'll never win. They'll burn out. Their performance will suffer to the point where either they'll have to quit or they will be fired. So let's kind of look at that. How does a person go from high performing to low performance? This is the question that companies are not asking. Well, mainly because most of them are set up by narcissists. I won't go down that rabbit hole on this video. I'll go down that rabbit hole in another video. But most companies have a very narcissistic structure in place. The companies that are experiencing the highest retention right now are those who have completely banished that type of behavior and that type of thinking. But if you're in a narcissistic setup of a company, you're not going to win, because keep in mind, narcissists have no pride. They have nothing to lose, is what I mean. So they'll keep playing this game with you until you die. Honestly, you could kill over with a heart attack and they could care less. They could not care less. And they'll be disappointed because now they have to find a new toy to play with. They went too far with this one, so now they have to find a new toy to play with. But anyway, the question that companies really need to ask themselves is, how does a person go from high to low performance in a span of 6 months to a year, whatever it may be, okay? Not a span of 30 days, 90 days, because most people put forth their best foot when they first start a job. So I could see how someone could go from high to low in a very short time frame, because they were probably just pretending anyway. But how does a person consistently deliver at a high level for a period of 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months, and then suddenly take a nosedive? And if that is the case, why is that grounds for dismissal and not development? Do you see what I'm saying? So let's kind of back up and look at the exact same example with a healthy company, healthy people, healthy bosses. You come in as a high performer, and actually, you probably won't ever take the nosedive because you're dealing with healthy people. But let's just say, for the sake of argument and for the sake of example, you come in as a high performer, you perform at a high level for 7 months straight, and then suddenly you take a nosedive. Assuming you're not in a narcissistic situation, a healthy company is going to look and say, this person has really produced for us. They've given us their best. They've always delivered high quality work. They've been really great to work with, really awesome coworkers. What happened? Let's talk to them. Let's ask questions. Let's see if there's something we can do to support them. Maybe something's going on in their life that they have no control over, and it's creeping into their work life, but we care about this person. We don't want to lose them. We also don't want to go through the hiring process again. Let's see if we can figure out what's wrong to fix it, because it makes no sense for a person to go from high performance to low performance when they have a track record of high performance. A narcissistic company, however, is going to take the approach of you have to perform at 100% at all times, no matter the circumstances, no matter how we've set it up for you to fail or succeed. And if you even so much show a sign of human frustration, burnout, exhaustion, we're just going to get rid of you. And that's how a lot of them operate. Their first approach is not remedy. Their first approach is punishment, okay? And what's interesting is a lot of times people are being punished for very natural reactions to causes, simple cause and effect. So they're dealing with someone who's a problem, who probably has been a problem, is probably a documented problem. And because they start to show signs of wear and tear as a result of dealing with this person, instead of the company saying, maybe we need to take a look at who we have leading our people, the company says, well, we're going to protect this person and get rid of you. And we're going to maintain this unhealthy individual in our midst. I did a video called Narcissistic Safe Havens, and a lot of companies are narcissistic safe havens. But I want to take another spin on this video and talk a little bit about what causes that, how the narcissist actually takes that approach with the person and causes them to take the nosedive. What actually is contributing to that? Here's what it is. Picture a dark room. It's pitch black in the room, and someone brings in a light, or maybe there's a light in the room that has a dimmer switch on it, okay? And so someone walks in and slowly starts turning the light up, and you can slowly start to see everything that's in the room, okay? But the person doesn't just stop once they've gotten the light on. They keep turning the light on till now it's actually too bright. So now everyone in the room is squinting, and you can see everything in the room. You can see every scuff on the wall. You can see every piece of dirt and dust in the corner. You can see all the cobwebs because the light is so bright. So some of you already know where I'm going with this. When the narcissist hires the high performer, the room is dark, okay? The high performer comes in, and with each contribution they make, the light turns up a little bit, right? At first, it's great because everyone can see. Oh my gosh, we've been in the dark for so long. We can finally see now. But what happens is, as the light keeps turning up, in other words, as the high performer continues to do great things, continues to ask questions, continues to try to improve processes, the light is getting brighter and brighter, and now we can see all the dirty laundry in the room. Now we can see all the dirt on the walls. We can see all the trash on the floor, all the cobwebs. And narcissists hate that. Narcissists need to live in a dim little world where no one can see what's going on, and they operate very well in that circumstance. They operate very well in the shadows, in the darkness. They really don't prefer light, but they'll take a little bit of light just so they can see where they are, but don't turn it all the way up because then you are exposed. So the high performer actually exposes the narcissist. The high performer exposes the safe haven. They expose the company for who they are, and oftentimes they do it without even trying. Oftentimes they do it just by being themselves. They expose all of this stuff. So that's why the narcissist likes them at first, because it helps them see. Because if you'll recall, narcissists don't really like to do a lot of thinking. They don't really like to do a lot of creating. They have to keep everything kind of stable, steady Eddie, in order to keep the mask in place. It's a very fragile mask. It slips very easily. It's not in place with crazy glue, okay? More like Elmer's, maybe the glue stick, okay? And so the high performer comes in and makes it very difficult for them to continue on as they have. The high performer asks questions that demand answers, not in a rude way, just in an inquisitive way. Why do you all do it that way? How did you all come to that conclusion? And when there aren't good answers, and you're in a place where people are accustomed to just not speaking up, not questioning anything, that's the equivalent of turning that light on so bright that now we're squinting, okay? And that's why the narcissist has to get rid of you, because the longer you're around, the more accountable the narcissist and that company has to be. the more questions they have to answer, the more they actually have to be responsible with their decisions and their choices and the way that they treat their employees. So the high performer is just a bright light that comes in as a dimmer. It comes in very dim and over time becomes so bright the narcissist can't take it and has to get rid of you because they don't want to have to do anything different. I predict in about 20 years or so, we will see businesses take off in a very good direction. And the reason that I predict that is because a lot of these narcissists are still in place. We've got about 10 to 15, about 20 years before they are all gone, before they've all retired and gotten out of these positions of power. Sure, some of them will stick around on boards of directors and all that's fine. And I know that narcissists have kids and they'll put their little baby narcissists in their positions. I know that's going to happen. But I think overall, eventually, these businesses will be relinquished to business practices that really support the human being. And when human beings are supportive, they're incredibly productive because I believe it's in humans' nature to want to be effective, to want to produce, to want to contribute. I think that's in humans' nature, but conditions have to be right for a person to thrive. And right now there are a lot of companies, a lot of narcissistic safe havens, and they have a lot of people in positions of power maintaining the status quo. But the beautiful thing is they can't maintain it forever. They have to retire eventually. And they're doing it. They're retiring little by little, slowly but surely. They're moving out of these positions. And I think we will see a surge in business. I really believe we'll see kind of like a golden era in terms of people going on jobs, liking their jobs, feeling like they're fairly paid, but more than the pay, feeling like they're fairly treated. So a high performer will go to a company and that company will fight tooth and nail to keep that person. This person is helping them make money. This person is helping boost morale. This person is helping take this company to the next level. They will not be so easy to dismiss people like that in the future. In the future, people like that will be so highly sought after that they'll probably spend a lot of their time telling companies, no, I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at. Thank you so much for the offer. Thank you for the consideration, but I am happy here. And companies will be throwing money at them, begging them to come work for them and actually treat them well when they get there. It's just going to take some time, you guys. It's going to take some time. I feel like right now we're shaking off a really bad cold. Like the way things are right now, the state of affairs in the world is like a really nasty flu that planet Earth has. I do believe we're in the process of shaking it off, even though it doesn't look like it. I do believe sometimes things get worse before they get better. And I think we're at the worst part of the flu right now, but I do think it's getting ready to peak. If you guys can just hang in there, if you learn, the more you share your ideas, the more you change your behaviors, that's how we change the world. And that's why I'm doing this channel. So I thank you all for listening. I thank you, all my new subscribers. Thanks for joining in. Thanks to everyone who's been commenting down below. As always, thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to close my videos with this from now on. I grant you the permission to exist. Take care.